My name is Benjamin Cornelius Smith. I was born on September 9th, 1927 in a small community just outside of Jacksonville, Tennessee. I was the only child of John and Louisa Smith. They too were both raised in the same exact community just outside of Jacksonville. They were great, loving parents who always encouraged me. Even though they had their differences and bouts, they still stayed loyal to each other for 35 years. I was raised a Southern Baptist and went to church every Sunday. Other than that, I helped my father with the farm, and because of that, I rarely ever had time to go to school. We would plant, harvest, and sell percentage to the market. Whatever we did sell, we gave to our neighbors who helped us out at the time. In our community, there was no use for buying or selling. Everything was traded, and everyone had something to offer. By the time I turned 14, I was forced to take my education seriously. I had started high school, and right away, I knew that my level of thinking was far more advanced than any boy there. While most boys were focusing just on sports, I was still dreaming about leaving this town and traveling the world. However, every boy thought the same when it came to Darla Shepherd, the most beautiful girl in the whole town. I never really had a chance with her. She never really acknowledged my existence. If you were popular, then she would talk to you, but only a few guys ever went out with her. After high school, she ran out with the football team captain, and well, that's not sorry.
Mr. Smith, had you any good friends? Mr. Smith!
Oh, yeah, I had a really good friend who lived down the lane from me. His name was Jim Hale. Yeah, Jim Hale. He was one hell of a worker. He would always come over and help us out with the farm, since his family didn't know the plot themselves. We had great times. Always getting into trouble though. I mean, nothing serious, but knocking on doors or running or scamming some kid into giving us some of his money. We had planned to run a business together no matter what it was. After high school had begun, my first day, his family moved off in some western state, and I lost my life down the road.
What is so humorous, Mr. Smith?
I just realized that if I had been as dashing and courageous as Jim, I think I could have impressed Darla. Gosh, she was pretty. But not as sweet as Amanda.
Who is she?
Amanda Perkins. Well, my second year of high school, we met. Actually, I saw her in one of our school plays. It was love at first sight. As she was speaking,
But Mama, you've got to say so.
she caught my eye and she went blank. It was as if time had stopped as we stared into each other's eyes.
What happened next?
A noise, and an air silence. She slowly continued on.
Something about me. Am I?
She would glance at me every time she was spoken to throughout the performance. It seemed like eternity as an hour passed. After the performance was done and the house had halfway cleared, I sat there hopelessly waiting to have a chance to speak to her. I saw the same feeling in her eyes. She came down from behind me and stood right next to me. She said, while smiling, I opened my mouth, but no words formed. She giggled, and after that, we formally introduced ourselves to one another and spent the rest of the night talking to each other. Since then, we have known each other and have stayed true to one another. We promised to take our relationship as slow as possible, going through all the formalities of dating, and promised to stay true to one another as long as we lived. I now felt like I was living the legacy of my parents.
What happened with you after high school?
Well, we continued, and I felt the time to propose. I proposed 4 years after we had met, and she said yes. I spent a whole year looking for the most beautiful ring that I could find. Yet, however, it still couldn't do justice to her hand.
What career did you follow after high school?
Well, as you can imagine, after I graduated, the U.S. had gone to Hitler to take back the country he had taken. I was called to defend my country, and Amanda, who was not my wife, had no choice but to let me go and fight.
Where were you stationed?
I was stationed at Hereford Airfield in Britain. There I spent a year working on Allied planes. There I met with Jim Hill. He had become a pilot. We cut up for the past few years talking for a local British pub, drinking pints, listening to ragtime. We spent a year there, and I kept in very close touch with my sweetheart Amanda, who had been patiently waiting for me to come home.
Could you tell us about any of the missions you performed?
Well, like I said, I was in Britain for about a year, and we were called to a special operation. There were thousands of us, and we were going to execute a hush-hush invasion that would completely change the outcome of the war.
Interesting. What happened next?
Well, the only thing I do remember was 2 months before it was about to happen.
Where and when was this invasion supposed to take place?
Well, don't you know? I thought everyone knew.
You must state everything you can to record the record properly.
I told you, I don't remember.
Mr. Smith, we must come clean. You are very ill. Everything you have told us never really happened to you. Amanda and Jim never existed, and you never went to war in Europe.
What?
I'm sorry you had to hear it like this, but if you could just tell us more information about that invasion, we may be able to help you.
What? Jim. Amanda, what are you guys doing?
Mr. Smith, who are you speaking to?
Jim, man behind me. Wait, don't you see that?
There's nobody there.
Jim. Amanda, they were just here a second ago.
Please, don't get excited, Mr. Smith. Do you have a problem with gripping reality?
What?
If you could just finish telling us everything you can remember before you were being captured.
Captured? Wait, what?
Nothing. She meant nothing.
No, she specifically said being captured.
Mine sucks inside out.
Excuse me, what does she mean by being captured?
I'm sorry. She thought you might have mentioned something like that earlier in your story. She was mistaken. Please continue.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was 2 nights after we received our assignment. I was going to meet with Jim at a local pub. As I was on my way, I ran into an agent. He was speaking to me in German, and as I was about to yell out for someone, I remember a sharp pain in the back of my head, and that was the last thing I do remember.
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. But you forced us to do this. You're too tough to crack. And since your torture didn't work the first time, and our interrogation hasn't succeeded, I feel it is not only fair to tell you that you are now useless to us.
What?
However, that is good, because we have many other prisoners to get information from. Enjoy your last few breaths of air, Mr. Smith.
My name is Benjamin Cornelius Smith, Lieutenant Major. 5, 4, 3, 1.